Welcome back to the 12 days of Wolfmas. This is day number 3, and through the first 2 days, we're up $596. Today's session comes from Texas at my card room called The Fort. We play 1-3 to start, and then halfway through, switch over to 5-10-25, and I play some massive pots. In the first hand of the night, the $6 button straddle is on. There's a limp to 6, and I make it $35 to go with the best hand ever created. We call this Texas heads up, when not 1, 2, 3, but 4 players put in the call for $35. We are going 5 ways to the flop, which comes King Jack 3 with 2 clubs. I go for a $55 bet, and we pick up absolutely no customers. Everyone folds, but $231 is getting shipped over my way. Just the way I wanted to start this third day of Wolfmas, and then we pick up pocket ochos. There's 2 limps over to the player to my right who makes it $20 to go. I decide to call instead of 3-betting in position, and we are gonna go 3 ways to the flop when we lose the second limper, and it comes 8-5 deuce, bang, we flop top set. In between 2 opponents, I usually start with a check, so when it goes over to the villain in under the gun, he fires out for $25. I make a mistake here by just calling. I think this is a board where I want to go for the check raise and try to get more money in the middle. There's a lot of scary turn cards, so when I just call the $25 and the turn does come another club, it's the 10 of clubs, and the action unfortunately goes check, check. You can see how if I would have check raised the flop, I could be in the driver's seat and bet out on the turn, but now we're all the way on the river in a very small pot, and it comes the 9 of spades. I fire out for $90 trying to make up for lost time here, but unfortunately the villain in under the gun flashes an 8 of spades before folding. He definitely would have called that flop check raise and maybe the turn as well, but we are taking down a $203 pot. Okay, straddle is on for $6 once again. I raise it up to $20 now with ace deuce of spades, and the player on my left puts in the call. 2 other players do as well, and the flop comes ace-6-5 rainbow. Multi-way, I usually start with a check. All the other opponents could easily have 5-6 suited or pocket 6s or pocket 5s. So when the action checks through, I make trips on the turn. It comes the ace of clubs, and I fire out small for $20, just trying to milk some straight draws or maybe a 6-7 type of hand. We only get called by the player on the button, and the river card comes the deuce of clubs. Bang, we river a boat. I try to get a little bit more value here and bet out into the $120 pot for basically the size of the pot, $125, and Mr. Clean 2.0 finds the fold. Unfortunately for us there, we make a very good hand, back-to-back hands, but taking down very small pots. Well, another Texas heads-up hand happening here. There's a raise to 18, and 1, 2, 3, 4 callers over to myself, and I decide to put in the squeeze here. With ace queen offsuit, I make it $100 to go. Will that thin out the field? Well, kind of. It gets down to 1 player, so we're going heads up to the flop in a nearly $300 pot, which gives us top queen jack 6 with 2 hearts. I think out of position with a good hand here, I probably want to go half pot, so the $75 continuation bet is a little bit too small in my opinion. Sam puts in the call though from under the gun, and the turn makes the board a little bit more scary when it comes the 10 of diamonds.
Throw a heart out there.
Give him a heart. Patrick's not a good listener. Now he's definitely not folding any of his King X hands as they are open-ended, as well as any of his 9X combos as well. I decide to go for a check on this turn, and luckily Sam checks behind, but it brings in a 4-liner when the 9 of diamonds peels off on the river. There's $430 in the middle, and I decide to blocker bet for $55. If we get raised here, I think we have a pretty easy fold, and I think it's likely he could call us with a 1-pair type of hand that we have beat, but Surprisingly, he just folds his cards, so a very small bet there does not induce anything out of Sam, and we are taking down nearly a $500 pot. If you want to be one of the 7 lucky winners that gets flown down to Champions Club in Houston, Texas, and given a free buy-in to play with Lucas and myself, here's how to enter. I'm giving away 2 seats to channel members, so you have to hit join and become a channel member to be eligible for that. 2 people will be picked from signing up on Club WPT Gold using code Wolfgang, and the remaining the same way as last year from that sign up sheet down in the description. As always, you need to be subscribed and comment on all 12 videos to be eligible. Good luck and happy Wolfmas. Alright, that's gonna do it for our 1-3 session, but as you see in Texas, everything is bigger. It was basically playing like a 2-5 or a 5-10. I'll recap at the end of the video how I did in that half of the session, but as for now, you guys are in for a treat. This is the once a week 5-10-20 game on Thursday nights. If you guys are in the area, highly recommend you coming out, but enough of me hyping it up. I'll let you guys see for yourself. I take my chip stack from 1-3 to 5-10-25. It's around $2,100. In the very first hand, we go to battle with Ace-6 of diamonds. 3 limpers over to myself. I make it $75 to go from the button. All 3 limpers put in the call, and the flop comes Ace-8-5 with 1 diamond. 2 hearts out there is pretty scary, so when it checks over to myself multi-way here, I decide to check it behind. The turn card brings a lot of options for myself. It comes a 7 of diamonds, so now we have top pair, open-ended straight draw, and nut flush draw. How could we have any more cards to hit on the river? Action checks to me for a second time, and I fire out for $100, going for value, trying to bloat the size of the pot. We only keep 1 customer, that's Hami, in the +1 position, and he puts in the call, which gives us the nuts on the river. Queen of diamonds, bang, we river the ace high flush.
How much do I have to bet to get you to call? What are you, his agent? He's your agent?
Hami doesn't know what he's in for. There's 515 in the middle, and I toss out 2 black chips. He finds the call and turns over the ace of spades, and one by one, I turn over the ace followed by the 6 of diamonds. And when he sees that 6 of diamonds, he knows his fate is sealed. $915. Ship it over to me, dealer. Let's go. All right, we keep one of our aces and then switch the 6 for another ace. We have American Airlines as a straddle to 25, 2 limps to me, and I make it 125 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4 players here at the fort put in the call, and I hear someone from the other table yell that they want to call as well. Just joking, you guys, but this game is so much action, and it gets even better for us when the flop comes Ace-9-4, bang, we flop top set. When the action checks over to me, I could go for a very small bet here of around $150, or I could check behind, allowing players to catch up. Don't worry if someone has pocket 9s or pocket 4s, checking behind here wouldn't be a massive mistake because they'll bet the turn, and I could either call and then jam river, or I could just raise them on the turn. So when I check behind, the 10 of spades peels off, and I like that card because now a ton of hands pick up some equity. There's some flush draws. Jack Queen has an open-ended straight draw. You get the point, but you can see how checking behind on the flop brings in a lot of possibilities on the turn. For that reason, when it checks to me, I fire out 3 black chips. The action folds around to the player in the small blind, who thinks about it for not too long before putting in the call. The pot is now $1,260, and the river comes the Queen of Hearts. The only thing we're scared about now is King Jack and Jack 8, and I think he's definitely capable of having both those hands out of the small blind. But when he checks it over to me, I'm gonna go for a big bet here, $800, and try to get maximum value versus some 2-pair and other types of holdings. I go for the old choo-choo here and stack those chips as high as that building out in Dubai. It's a little bit scary for him. He folds his cards, Mudkip coming back over to the good guys over here, and along with him, Billy the dealer ships me over a pot worth nearly $2,000. So this 5-10-25 session is off to a blazing start, and it continues here. I'm wearing my cowboy hat, and I look down at 2 cowboys, pocket kings, and I make it $100 to go over a button straddle. We pick up 1 caller. It goes over to Adam. He calls, and the button calls as well. We're in a good old-fashioned 4-way here, and the flop comes all low cards, 9-4-3 with 2 hearts. When Adam checks it over to me, I have a decision between betting and checking. If I bet here and get raised, well, we are in a puke call type of situation. So rather than put myself in that gross spot, I'm gonna go into check call mode. I could also go for a check raise, but when Alex fires out for $200 from the hijack, I just put in the smooth call and the turn comes pretty much an inconsequential jack of diamonds, unless of course Alex has jack 9. When I check it over to him and he checks behind, at this point I'm pretty much ruling out all of his sets and 2 pairs. I think on a scary draw heavy board he'd continue to fire there, so when he checks behind and the river comes the 6 of hearts, I'm in a weird spot. I have the king of hearts, so I block some king high flush draws, and that leads me to believe I have the best hand here. I'm gonna bet out small, and if I get raised, decide then. 175 gets snap called by Alex, and $1,200 getting shipped over my way. This 5-10 session has been going flawlessly. No pots have been pushed the other direction away from me, and I'm hoping to continue that trend here with the ladies. What a beautiful sight. They're looking good tonight. Pocket queens. I raise it up to $100, and we get 1, 2, 3 callers. So another 4-way here with a large pocket pair, but the board comes pretty crazy here. 9, 9, 8, and all of the players are definitely capable of having 8s full of 9s or just a random 9 in their hand. For that reason, I decided to implement some pot control here and start with a check, and that brings in the ace of diamonds on the turn. The ace of diamonds should connect pretty well with my pre-flop raising range. With my entire range, I probably would want to start going for some bets here, and I fire out for $100, to which 2 players put in the call. 735 in the middle, and the river comes the 4 of spades. The action checks through. I don't see a point in betting here. I'm only going to get called by better hands, and by checking, I allow my opponents to go for a bluff, which they don't do so. But when I table the queens, aka 2 pair with the ace kicker, another pot being pushed my way. We're now 4 for 4 on this 5, 10, 25 session, and let's keep it going with pocket kings once again. Straddles on, limp is out there, a raise to 175. Let's come in for a 3-bet here to $450, a little bit over a 2x raise. Look at that. Adam over there in seat 8 believes if it's good for 25, it's good for 450, and puts in the smooth call.
450 or 475?
Brother.
That brings in the player in seat number 1. So we're going off 3 ways to the flop in a $1,400 pot, and we flop ourselves 2 pair on a queen 9-9 rainbow board. When the action checks over to me, I decide to go for a small bet here of $225. Like I said earlier in the session, there's spots where you're either way ahead or way behind, and given the fact that Adam limped here and then called my raise, well, he could have a 9, he could have a queen, and he immediately goes for the check raise to $750 while munching on some delicious sunflower seeds. He looks super relaxed. He didn't think about it for too long before check raising. We lose the player in the seat number 1, and of course I'm going nowhere with my pocket kings. I find a pretty easy call. When the turn comes the deuce of spades, Adam counts out his stack, takes a spit into that disgusting cup, and then checks it over to myself. I'm not gonna fall for the trap and get double check raised here, the very rare move. I decide to check behind here. Not too many cards I'm scared of on the river, and the 5 of clubs is definitely not a card I'm gonna be folding. So when Adam bets out for $800 into the $2,900 pot, I take a deep breath and put in the call. If he has a 9, so be it. But he says I'm good. $4,500 shipped over my way. Kings and 9s with a queen kicker taking it down, and he flashes the 10 of clubs before mucking his cards. And 7 lucky winners. 7 of you guys loved that massive pot. That means we are making a ton of money in this session, and I'm gonna divide it up and give it to you guys. All right, let's lock up this massive profit here. I was in for $2,000, brought it all from the 1-3 to the 5-10-25, and cashed out for a whopping $58.45, so a profit of $38.45. Look at that, you guys. I said on day 1 I was taking shots in 5-10 to make that pot a little juicier for 7 lucky winners, and just like that, we went from nearly $600 up in 2 sessions to over $4,000 through 3 sessions. If you guys want your share of the profits, be sure to do all the steps listed below, and I'll see you guys tomorrow in day 4 of the 12 days of Wolfmas. Good luck on the felt, you guys, and until then, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace!